Remember?
Yeah, sorry. Down on the trade show floor, our Dallas convention, and we're going to have an infield conversation with one of the new infield coordinators from the Minnesota Twins, Billy Boyer. Billy, thanks for jumping on with us.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
It's been a while since we've been on the podcast and talked infield play.
It has. Yeah, it's probably been, maybe a year and a half. Maybe?
Yeah, closing on a year and a half probably. Yeah, let's go into this, man. And again, the transition from you coming from Washington, going to Seattle U. I watched your. If you had a great presence before, you amped it up. A lot of videos. Let's go back to that little segment of being at Seattle U and really taking advantage of the social media opportunity to throw out some good infield ideas, throw out some drills you're doing at practice. Go into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, at coming from Washington or maybe some other areas that we had more space, going to Seattle U, we were really limited in our space. And I think we found, guys like Kai and Tucker and some of those other infield guys are throwing out really great media, and I was able to kind of jump on that train a little bit and find creative ways to enhance our infield play. And I got really into some juggling stuff that I really like, and some, we've always talked a lot about catch and transfer being a really important piece of our play. And I actually saw this on Twitter from a eye-hand coach Twitter thing that they put out, and there's some goaltending stuff from hockey, and I started seeing this stuff, and I'm like, man, this is really cool stuff, and I think this really translates into our infield play. And so we started doing it daily, and our guys loved it. And I've even, over the last couple of weeks, done it with some other pro guys, and we're using lacrosse balls. And I just posted one the other day of Levi Jordan as an infielder with the Cubs. I actually got a chance to coach at the University of Washington, and he's got 4 balls going, and it's mind-blowing that how good these guys are and how much they enjoy that skill. And the challenge behind it. So it's been really fun to be able to put that stuff out there. And I know that not everybody can do it, but I should post the video of how we started that. 2 balls.
Right.
And he couldn't even do it.
Right.
And, 7 or 8, 10 days later, he's up to 4 balls, and he's starting at 25 feet, and he's up to 10 feet, and he's going 4 balls, and it's nuts, and it's really cool to kind of,
awesome.
When I see stuff like that, if I think it's cool, I'm going to post it and put it out there and share it. And maybe, it inspires a coach to try to do something. And actually had a coach approach me just last night and was talking about some tennis ball stuff that they've implemented, and I was like, man, that's great. Like, I love that. Like, that's a really cool piece that, like, it's just sharing the information, and then, how'd you add to it? And he's like, and then we did this, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. Like, that's something.
You.
Yeah, now that's something that we can add or we could try, and so really cool. Like, I mean, the social media thing is just expanded, I think, all of our worlds. It's just forced us to be more creative to keep up, or you see ideas that you can add to, or I really like that, but I only like this piece or whatever. And it's been really cool. Like, it's a really cool piece of coaching right now.
I love it. Go into you mentioned like almost the players' response to it and how exciting it got for them to see themselves progress through.
Yeah, I think at first they're like, you want me to do what?
Right.
Like, that seems kind of weird. But then they start to do it, and they're like, man, this is way harder than I think. And then they start seeing some correlations between what we're doing and maybe just a juggling drill and move it on to the field. And when from my standpoint, I put a really high emphasis on catch and transfer. I think that's a really, really important key piece to our infield play. And there's no really other way to train it other than catch and transfer. So let's get creative with lacrosse balls and tennis balls and racket balls, and sometimes it's weighted baseballs or sometimes it's wiffle balls, and they all create different feels. And when you add that environment to a training glove environment, like it forces them to target catch and feel the transfers, and every transfer is different. We go big ball, small ball, and you start changing the environment once they start getting used to it, and then they kind of get jacked up about it.
That's right.
Like it's like when I went to Levi, for instance, just a couple weeks ago, and we started doing it, he's like, come on, man, like, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, just try it.
Right.
And he couldn't even do it. And it was like it was a real challenge for him. And now I walked in the other day, and he was in there a half hour before I got there, and he was already done. And I literally walked in behind him and took the video. Didn't even know I was there. And I'm like, this is incredible, right?
Gosh,
this is great.
Awesome.
So they start to get more of they challenge themselves to kind of think outside the box of And I mean, I don't know if it's relevant. I don't know. But I think at the end of the day, if they feel like it is. Right. And they feel like they're advancing because of it, then it's relevant.
That's what matters.
Right. So, I mean.
Wow. Go into this transition. I mean, you're talking about your career in baseball and getting into professional baseball, playing for 6 seasons, I believe.
Yeah.
6 seasons, then jumping into junior college baseball. You're trying to finish your degree. You're back with University of Washington. You got the pro experience as a player, the junior college experience, the Division I experience, and now crossing over with Minnesota Twins. I just talked to the front office. You've been voted second best beard in the Twins organization.
Yeah.
Tanner Swanson gets that official claim.
Okay.
But transitioning into the Twins organization, in your own mind, again, coming just months ago from coaching Seattle U, how has your mind shifted as to, okay, now that I'm back in that professional space, here's where I want to go with it? How's that?
I think that's been the most challenging piece. Is kind of the, not the last, 6 or 8 weeks. I haven't done much.
Right.
And it's really forced my mind to work. I'm so used to being kind of in the hustle this time of the year of just making sure that we're ready for the season, no matter where I was at junior college or the Division I level. You're kind of always in the hustle, and now I've really had a chance to kind of step back and really analyze what matters.
Right.
What drills matter, and that's why I've really enjoyed getting together with a couple of local pro guys that I was lucky enough to coach in college. So I have a previous relationship with them.
Right.
But what I love about it is just having this conversation out there is their willingness to challenge me back.
There it is.
Which it gets me going. We're having a conversation on, we're doing some double play feeds, and we're working. One guy really liked kind of a backhand power feed. The other guy liked the under. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk more about double play depth. And we walk out and we're talking. It turned into like a 45-minute conversation of just like, well, what about this? And
right.
So you kind of, it's really forced my mind to work. The one thing I will say is not having started the position yet.
Right.
I haven't gone to spring yet, so I'm a little bit. I would say the one thing I'm nervous about is just the unknown.
Yeah.
Right. It's like I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I mean, it's so. I think from a baseball standpoint of just to teach, I have no concerns. I feel very confident in my ability to teach players and to make them better infielders. The thing that I'm nervous about is just. I don't really know what the schedule's like, and that part is. So it's real. I mean, my mind has really been racing over the last, 6 or 7 weeks, honestly, of just kind of, and being able. It's nice having those pro guys at home because you can kind of bounce stuff off them and say, "What do you think about this?" I've really enjoyed getting at Seattle U. I did a ton of machine work.
Right.
Do the pro guys enjoy that? Is it something that they would try to do every day? We did it a lot at SU just because of space, it's more confined.
Sure.
But is it relevant? Obviously fungo work matters, but is it relevant to have a machine off to the side and work 10 or 15 reps on your knees and then go take your 10 or 12 or 15 reps?
Sure.
I had a chance to listen to Darren Finster speak a little bit earlier, and I kind of wanted to ask him, what are your thoughts on machine work? He had a great drill set that they went through and rolling and stuff, and similar stuff to what we do, but I like the machines because it's more controlled. It's something that we can really focus in on one skill set at a time, and then move into the full set fungo stuff. Or, if a guy struggles with a glove presentation or some kind of a catch or whatever, why not have something on the side just to be able to touch on it just real quick and get that feel back and, so. Yeah, I have lots of ideas.
You do.
Yeah, my mind is going crazy.
Gosh.
It's just how do we implement it. I think the biggest thing that my goal going into this is to really just, be the coach that I am and not try to change who I am and just I still believe in the things that are important to me, and I want to be able to relay that message to our guys and hopefully grow from them too and be able to. I've had the luxury of reaching out to not all of our guys yet, but I'm in the process of reaching out to all the Twins infielders and just really just having conversations like, hey, what are the things that you really enjoy in your training process? What are the things that you don't enjoy? And just trying to get a really good sense, because at the end of the day, it's about them.
It is,
right?
100%.
And making sure that we're supplying the environment, the training environment to help them move forward.
Sure.
And if you don't like doing it, then don't do it.
That's right.
We won't do it. We'll move on to something else. And that's one thing that I've really enjoyed too with the Twins is it's just the kind of the growth mindset of, hey, if it doesn't work, we'll move on to something else, or we'll try it here, and we'll and it's been great. I'm really excited about that. To be able to jump in and maybe try new things and my biggest thing, just walking around this last couple of days and listening to some of the presentations, or even going through the trade show here, is I see all these really great gadgets for pitching and
Right.
hitting and ground force mats, and I'm like, well, I think Infield's behind in that sense of
Wow.
like
Yeah.
how we're watching a presentation on ground force mats of hitting and maybe pitching and stuff, but is that relevant to infield play?
Right.
I think it is.
Right.
Like, does it maximize our first step if we're timing different? Like, I think there is, and I don't think there's any real data out there that I know of. And if there
Not
is,
that I've seen.
I'd love somebody to reach out to me. But that's kind of the stuff that I'd like to really start kind of digging into. I think there's more to this than just footwork fundamentals and hand fundamentals. I think there's science out there, or there's analytics out there that, or data, or whatever you want to call it, that
Sure.
that can improve our play. And I'm really curious to find that. Like, that's the thing that's been driving me nuts. Is like, just I see a stat, I don't know what it means. Like,
Right.
it's new to me, right? It's
Right.
we've had this huge, for me, like this, so much more data that I can access now, and it's just
Right.
like, that's what's on it all the time. Like, okay, what does that mean though?
Right.
Like, what can I do with that? How is that relevant from the big league level down?
Sure. Oh my gosh, I want to scratch a personal itch for myself here, because I think you know how big of a fan I am of catch play and catch play routines. That's just I just think there's so much to be gained positionally if catchers have a specific idea of what they're trying to get done in that 20 minutes where my high school coach, your high school coach, a lot of coaches, that's just a time to go get loose as opposed to a time to go get better. Take me through some ideas, if I am a youth coach, a high school coach, a travel coach, a small college coach, any college coach, of just some ideas that they could maybe approach their catch play routines a little bit differently that you've seen, man, translate directly to the game.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty controversial topic.
It is,
It's like, do we long toss as infielders? Do we not long toss as infielders? Do we max them at 100 or 120 feet? In my opinion, when we get to the park, the first thing we do is we typically stretch our body. The one thing we don't focus on is our arm. So our catch play is really designed to get your arm going.
That's right.
Right? I mean, so I think when you watch a lot of guys, they spend a lot of time maybe quick catching too early or doing things that are now involving the feet, and we're not getting the arm loose. We're not lengthening muscles. We're not conditioning that arm to last, right? We just immediately go into high intensity throws or whatever. So I'm a big proponent of long toss. I think it's really important. I mean, it forces infielders to get athletic. It forces them to make natural arm motions when they throw. And I'd like to see guys arc it out high and hard as far as they can and really condition that arm. And I think what happens a lot of time for infield coaches is they think, well, that's not how they throw in a game. Well, what you're doing by not allowing them to do that is you condition them to be robots.
That's it.
When they long toss, it allows them to be athletic and their bodies pattern and move. And then when you come back in, when you bring your flight down, they're more athletic and they're more conditioned to get back in sync with what the throw is going to demand in the game.
Right.
So throw high and hard.
There it is.
I mean, infield, catcher, pitcher, outfield doesn't matter. Like they're good enough athletes to where they're going to resynchronize when they come back in, and they're going to make the throws in games that they need to make. So, and again, I think there's a lot of controversy around that, and I think you're doing a disservice to your players if you cut them off at 100 or 120 feet.
Sure.
You're not allowing the full range of the shoulder capsule to work. You're not working on. I mean, there's going to be times when a shortstop has to make a 225 or 250 foot cut relay throw.
Cut down a run.
I mean, you got to do it.
Right.
You got to be able to make that throw. And if you never play catch at over 120 feet, then, are you really putting them in an environment to do that?
I love it. One of the infield mentors of my life, Brian Green, head coach of New Mexico State, and he'll be on here this afternoon or tomorrow. And when I had the opportunity to work with Greeny at the University of Kentucky, I really didn't have a true look back concept of how to maximize that time. And so what we were trying to do, and Tucker actually went into some of this on the podcast recently of just, and again, it's relative to each individual and what you feel like you want to approach that time with. But man, we took a time of practice of 20 minutes, and whether it's starting squared up and just getting loose, whether it's working on our one-step or two-step or forward-step, depending on your terminology, whether it was relay catches out to 90 feet, and then after that it's turns and tags at the bases. I mean, we put a plan in place, Billy, that was one that I would sit back and go, wow, all that transfers directly to the next thing we do,
Sure.
taking ground balls, working on tags of the bases with the catchers, relay throws from the outfield. Have you ever dabbled into some of that and brought that into some of your
Yeah, for
catch
sure.
plays? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So we typically go high and hard on the way out, and then on the way back in, we get more skill specific.
Because we're moving right into the next phase.
Exactly.
Right?
So
Yeah.
as you're coming back in, you're bringing your fly down, and again, getting more pull down where you're working a cut relay, or in the backside guys catching a catch and tag. I think one thing, I think it's hard to hit on all of them in a single day.
Yeah, it is.
I think so. Unless you really expand the length that you play catch.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've kind of picked up over the last maybe the last year is kind of looking at what the team defense is that day,
Okay.
and putting an emphasis around that. So if it's cut relays, right now we're working a pull down. If we're in a bunt defense, we might work more throwing slots. So if you can't allow for 25 or 30 minutes of catch play, which that might take the time to hit all those areas of catch. You shrink it down to maybe say 12 or 15 minutes, and you focus your catch play based around what maybe your team defense is that day. If you don't have a team defense and you're just in a individual defense, then maybe it's just working foot patterns and target throwing. And then as you come back in, maybe it's individual defense again, and you're in double plays, and again target feeding and catch and transfer and footwork around that. So
moving away from a script.
yeah, moving away from scripting it based on what maybe the skill set that you're going to do later in the day.
Brings us back to adaptability.
Right, exactly.
Variability.
I mean, you might spend 15 or 20 minutes in pull downs, but maybe you did cut relays the day before, and we don't want to do pull downs. Maybe we need a little bit of a recovery day in the throw, and we're just going to work on double play feeds and transfers. And so we're going to maybe still stretch it out, but on the way back in, we lighten it down a little bit in that sense, and just focus on one skill and really hammer on that a little bit more instead of just trying to do them all every day. Are you really maximizing versus just maybe one day pull downs, redirects, whatever you want to do? I mean, there's an infinite number of combinations that you could do. Honestly.
I love it. Shifting gears here, I want to go into ABCA and this convention experience for you, man. You're always a guy, and we start texting months out, like, man, can't wait to see you.
Right.
But when you get here on site, you get here on campus, and you're walking around, and certainly the conversations and the full experience of being part of the brotherhood fraternity. What's it mean to be part of this? I mean, I think for any coach that's not here, Billy, speak to that dude. Make him show up with us in Nashville.
I can honestly say I don't know if I am where I am today without the ABCA.
Wow.
And I truly mean that. I mean, the opportunity to speak in the expo stage a couple years ago, I mean, I don't know who was in the seats that day. I mean,
possibly someone from the Twins.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible that I'm not in the seat I am today without that opportunity. But if you can't get here, you got to find a way. I mean, you got to find a way to throw $15 or $20 in the piggy bank every month to get here. I mean, and the clinics are great. All the speakers are great. The theater or the clinics upstairs are great. But the best part is just walking around and running into people and you can't even get back to your hotel room. You leave dinner at midnight and you don't get back to the hotel room until 2:30 because you're in another conversation every 15 or 20 feet, and you're talking about whatever it is, and
back up at 6.
Back up at 6 and do it again. And that's we don't come here to sleep. We come here to talk baseball and breathe it and be about it. And I just love the fact that everybody's willing to share. There's no secrets here, which is the best. I mean, we're all here to learn and push ourselves to be better coaches and better people, and having those conversations out there is a huge part of that. So if you can't get here, you got to find a way.
That's it.
I mean, I saw some guys driving like 14, 15 hours to get here. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it takes. I mean, if you want to truly be a service to your players, that's what it takes, is jumping in your truck with 5, 6 guys and
make it happen.
Man. Make it happen.
Gosh. Well, first and foremost, just from where we sit, man, congrats on the new position.
I appreciate that.
I know you're going to crush it, and it's going to be awesome to watch you flourish in an environment that, man, was probably really suited for you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Your concept of and really expertise on infield play, man, you're going to do a great job.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I'm just eager to get started.
No
honestly,
doubt.
I'm like I said, I'm not used to be sitting around so much, so I'm really eager to kind of get out there in the trenches and just get to work.
Well, we've taken enough of your time. Go keep crushing the Dallas floor, my friend.
You got it, man.
You're the
Appreciate
best.
you.
Thanks, Billy.
Thanks.